Hi everyone, my name is Danai Nicole. I'm a faith-based life coach helping women to elevate in the area of their calling, and I'm also just your girl for everything prayer, faith, and personal elevation. I want to welcome you back to a Gentle Voice podcast. Gentle Voice podcast is designed to be a safe space for you, okay? This is a space that is encouraging women to step into the fullness of their femininity, to understand what it means to have gentle power, and to actualize to their highest selves, okay? So I'm really excited to welcome you into this community, and I know that this community is about to change your life. Without further ado, let's get into the meat of today's episode. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Young, Famous, and African, but I recently got into season 3 of this show because everyone on the internet and their mother was talking about it, okay? And one moment that really stood out to me in this season was an episode where Kanye Mbao is talking to Nadia Nakai, who's another character on the show. And Nadia Nakai is basically going through a season of grief, a season of mourning her partner who passed on. And she's talking to Kanye, and Kanye is talking to her and saying that what man fears most is silence. What man hides from most is that moment where you're alone with your thoughts and you actually have to introspect, you actually have to dig deep and wrestle with your emotions, wrestle with everything that's going on the inside of you. And I really believe that because of the really distracted generation that we exist in today, people lately don't know how to introspect or how to really dig deep and be at peace within themselves and take that time to be alone, to be in silence, and to ask themselves difficult questions. And it is in that grappling with self that we allow ourselves to grow. We allow ourselves to isolate the root of all the problems that are going on in our lives, and we begin to develop targeted solutions when we can isolate back and say, oh, actually this was caused by this. The reason why I behave this way is because of this. This actually triggered me because it reminded me of this other situation, etc. But if we never get to that place where we can actually do really deep thought, we live a life of just isolating symptoms. So we see that we behaved in this certain way. We're like, oh, I didn't like how I behaved. And we just address that small situation without actually digging deep to understand what was the root cause. And so the symptoms keep popping up. Symptoms pops up here, we deal with it, and then it disappears, and then it pops back up again in different font, and it's like a spiritual whack-a-mole where we're just constantly trying to deal with symptoms, and then we ask ourselves, why is this problem just continuing to be exacerbated in my life? Why is this continuing? Why can't I try to wrestle this thing and deal with it? Why am I in this repetitive cycle? And that leaves us in a place of feeling hopeless, feeling desperate, feeling like stuck, like we can't deal with certain things that we've been struggling with, whether it be our weight, whether it be our academics, our goals, whatever it is. When we fail to isolate the root of the problem, that problem has room to continue to manifest in our lives. And that's what the enemy is after. The enemy is seeking to keep us distracted so that we never actually deal with the root of the problem. And you'll continuously be in a loop of identifying symptoms, trying to whack-a-mole and deal with that symptom, but realizing that that was not enough. We want to destroy the works of the enemy in our lives today and allow ourselves to elevate to our highest selves by first dealing with this really, really difficult issue of self-sabotage. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I don't really deal with self-sabotage. I don't really know what that is. I don't really know if that's something that I inherently do. But I want to actually argue that 99.9% of us actually deal with self-sabotage in some capacity in our lives. And that's a difficult thing to wrestle with, but let me explain, right? So self-sabotage can be thought of as anything that we do that is causing us harm or impeding us in any way. And so as I mentioned earlier with, this idea of us picking at symptoms, right? And these symptoms are usually things that allow us to stop thinking. They allow us to have a dead end, allow us to have a scapegoat that keeps us from having to do deep inner work. An example of this is if I want to lose weight, I can say, oh, I just have a sweet tooth. Or if I'm afraid to network, I'll say I'm shy. Or if I'm afraid to launch my business, I'll say I'm afraid of what people will think. And these are known as thought terminating cliches, whereby when you have this specific phrase that you say to yourself, it stops thought, it stops rational thought, it stops critical thinking, it stops you from digging deep and analyzing, okay, where is this coming from and how can I overcome? And so that's where the enemy wants to keep you. He wants to keep you in that realm of having these scapegoats that you can blame for self-sabotage, right? And when we have these sort of symptoms and we never get to the root, we don't realize that what actually is causing us to self-sabotage ourselves is that we don't believe that we are a good investment. Now, let me get into why I say this. So I have this theory that as man, we have 4 main modes of currency that we operate with and that we spend on a day-to-day. And those currencies are time, actual money, mental energy, and physical energy. So we have these 4 currencies that we operate every single day. And every single day, we're making complex analyses to determine whether or not any specific thing is worthy of our currency. For example, before you picked this video, before you even clicked on it and decided to watch it, you did a split-second analysis in your mind, and this was most likely subconscious, to decide whether or not this was something you want to spend your mental currency on and your time currency on. And then you decided that this was worthy of your investment and that you felt like you were probably going to get a return on your investment, and so it was worth you putting your currency in. And we do this with everything. Whether your friend has invited you out to hang out and you run the calculations in your mind to say, okay, but I have to spend physical energy to get there. I have to spend mental energy to socialize. I have to spend my actual money to buy food with my friends. And I also have to spend my time. So literally, you determine whether or not this interaction with your friends is worth the investment. And we do that with everything in our lives. And we are not the exemption. We also run these analyses on deciding whether or not we want to spend our currency on ourselves. And I believe that we have 3 main means of analysis to determine whether or not we are a good or worthy investment. I've thought about this in terms of, let's say I give you $1 million to go to the bank and I want you to invest that $1 million in an asset. You're going to most likely analyze that asset on 3 main parameters. The first one being, is this something you can trust, right? Is this a scam company? Is this a real legitimate company with years on the market, with a good trajectory, good reliability? Is it going to be something where you can trust it, right? The second thing that you're going to look at for this investment is whether or not it's actually a valuable investment, right? It could have been there for a long time, but it may not be something that's going to actually make money. So you want to see that this is something that is valuable, that is of esteem, where they produce a great quality product that the market is going to love. They have a great platform. They have a great business model. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that this is an esteemed product, right? And lastly, you want to see whether or not you believe in the vision of this company. Is this something that you buy into, that you can see like, yes, in 5 years, this will be the next Microsoft. This will be the next Meta. This will be the next Netflix. This will be the next Tesla. You're going to look at all that and determine whether or not this is something you want to buy into. So you're looking at it in terms of whether you believe in it, whether it's of good esteem, and whether or not you can trust it. In the same way, we evaluate ourselves on these same parameters. So we're going to say, do I have self-esteem? Do I have self-belief? And do I have self-trust? And when we see ourselves having low metrics in any of these areas, we tend to deem ourselves as bad investments, and we are less likely to want to pay currency in ourselves. So for example, you might not want to make the investment of going on a 6-month weight loss journey because you don't trust yourself that you'll be able to maintain those results. And so you subconsciously know that, okay, if I lose weight in 6 months, within 6 months, I'll probably have gained it back. So what was the point of the pain, right? So you have low self-trust. And that is probably something that's going to impede your ability to invest in yourself. You may also struggle from low self-esteem, whereby it's not that you don't think you can do it is that you don't think you're worthy of it. You don't think you deserve to have your dream body, to have your dream house, to have your dream job, to have your dream workplace. You low-key don't think you have the value and the worth to have that thing, to own that thing, for it to be yours. And so you will subconsciously refuse to make the investment because you don't think you're worthy of it and that you'll get a good return on your investment. And so we've talked about low self-esteem, and we've talked about low self-trust. And the last parameter is self-belief. So perhaps you don't actually believe that you can do this thing. And so why would you invest your currency into doing something that you don't actually think is going to happen low-key at the end of the day? So we are constantly running these evaluations and determining how we want to spend our currency. And so instead of you having all of your 4 currencies being aligned together to fulfill your purpose and your destiny, you allow yourself to spend your currency on things like TikTok, things like Instagram, things like YouTube that you know down the line are not going to fulfill you, are not going to add to your dreams, are not going to add to your goals. And then you still tell yourself that you're still trying, you're still doing all these things, but your metrics and how you're investing your currency is saying another story. And the story it is telling is that you actually don't think you're a good investment. And so the next time that you are telling yourself that it is too hard to go to the gym, it is too much work for you to weigh out your food and count your calories, I want you to say to yourself, am I not worth the investment? Why is it that I can pay 2 hours of time to TikTok, but I cannot pay 2 hours of time to sculpt out a workout regimen for myself, to sculpt out time to actually weigh out my food and know how many rations I should be eating for a healthy, balanced diet for myself? Like, you need to be able to analyze how you're spending your currency every single day and to bring that analyses to the level of the conscious, right? Because right now you're doing it subconsciously and you don't realize you're sabotaging yourself every time you decide to hit the snooze button, every time you decide not to go work out today because you don't feel like it. You're basically telling yourself every day and reinforcing this idea that you're not worth the investment. But I want you to start to critique yourself in that area, to challenge that thought every time it arises, and to tell yourself, no, I am worth the investment. I am worth the time. I am very much worth the money. I am worth the mental energy. I am worth the physical pain, because I know that I am a worthy investment. And you have to be the biggest investor in yourself. You cannot expect anyone to invest in you, but you aren't willing to do that for yourself. Okay. And so if you have made it this far in the video, I want you to go ahead and just comment down below, I am a worthy investment, or I am a good investment. And I want you to start believing it. And I want you to carry out an analysis of your life. Basically, just look at how you're spending all of your currency right now, and basically figure out how you would ideally like to spend your currency, and align it with how you see yourself and where you want to go. Like, what are your goals? Okay, so if you want to write a book, your mental energy right now should not be going to gossiping and arguing on the internet, or whatever it is that your mental energy goes to. Your mental energy should be going to writing 1 chapter every single day. So continue to do things along those lines and recalibrate, rebudget your currency. And I promise you, this will change your life. Okay, so I hope that this episode has helped you to realize your worth, to realize you are worthy, to realize you're capable, and to get to the crux and the root of the issue, which is a self-sabotaging behavior and pattern that is at the level of the subconscious. But we are lucky today that the Lord has deemed us worthy to realize this thing and bring it to our conscious mind so we can do something about it. Okay, so if this episode was helpful for you, please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share, and I will see you all in the next video. Okay, love you. Bye.